Well, just thought I'd do a little bit of a video on the newest tool bag that I have for work. This is a Klein Ultimate Tradesman Pro. I do a pretty wide range of stuff at work. I repair sometimes CNC machines. Sometimes I do production electrical work. Sometimes I repair cranes. Do electrical installations. Really a wide variety. I couldn't even probably stand here and even remember everything that I actually do at one time or another during a 10 or 12 hour shift. But I need a pretty wide variety of tools that are many times reasonably maneuverable rather than pushing my great big toolbox from one spot to another. Our shop's probably 800 feet long from end to end and pretty wide, so a lot of times things will come up, issues will come up, and I got to get there really fast. So I've been on a quest ever since, really, I guess probably for the past 10 or 12 years, to find a really good tool bag, something that was kept a lot of the tools that I need and also ended up being efficient. And I had an open center Husky tool bag that I've used probably for the past 3 or 4 years, and it was okay, but too many times the tools would fall through the loops and then you're digging around in the middle trying to find them, and that's just time that I don't have. It takes too much time to find them. Time is money. The machine's down. We got to get that thing repaired like right now, not sitting there searching for a tool at the bottom of a tool bag somewhere. So this ended up being a really nice unit. Seems to be pretty sturdy. I've had it since the end of February, I guess, so a couple of months. Really liked the fact it had a pouch on the side big enough to hold my Fluke 87. That's something a lot of times with my Husky and the other tool bags I had in the past, that just didn't happen. I was carrying it along and my tool bag and maybe some other tools out of my toolbox and juggling things around trying to get 800 feet to where the problem is. So I kind of like the loops on here. Now a lot of the stuff that I use at work or were, say, like company type stuff I left at work. My lockout tag out locks, I usually hang on here off of a carabiner, kind of like that. And got enough room here for several different tape loops. There's several different rolls of tape. I've got usually keep 2 regular rolls of black and then usually a roll of green in case I'm on a job where I need to mark a ground wire. And then I usually keep a roll of friction tape on there if, say, I happen to be up and I have to insulate like a split lug or something like that. But this thing is, I really like this. You zip it open and basically everything's right there. And easy to find, right in front of you. Basically quick scan, grab it and go. No digging around, no loops for things to maybe fall through and then disappear into the bottom of the black hole like would happen on my Husky toolbox. Everything's right here, and as you can see, I have a pretty wide variety of screwdrivers that I keep with me, and you probably wonder, why in the heck do you do that? Well, over the years of performing the job that I do, I find certain sizes or styles of screwdrivers maybe work better, maybe more efficiently than others. So I keep a pretty wide variety of screwdrivers in here, and I know the moment I get to the job which one is going to be the most efficient to get the job done. And you can see I've got my strippers in here and various little cutters, and I've got some bits in here and Allen wrenches. Got my little level in here. Got my little drivers here for driving nuts or self-tappers or whatever. That's just one side. On the back side here, I've got a chisel and a setter punch, and a couple pens, and a notebook. You always need to take notes for something, rather than run back and grab one or keep one in my pocket. I just have it in my tool bag. Take this thing everywhere that I go. Yet again, on the other side, same thing. That thing can flip right open. Got other stuff in here. Got Crimp Tool. They got one for DIN style crimps and the other one for regular insulated lugs. Got my old standard Klein here for uninsulated, if need be. Got a little brass banger if I need it. Small Crescent Wrench. Nice LED flashlight, which that's becoming more and more important as I get older. My eyes get worse. A couple more little Allen wrench sets. Little tap wrench. PVC cutter if I happen to be working on PVC conduit. And this here has probably come in quite handy. Got the various bits. I found these ECX bits, I found them to be a bit disappointing that you get from Milwaukee. I thought I would really use those a lot, but the only time I ever use them is rare occasion. I happen to be wiring a regular 110 volt receptacle, which I guess maybe if I did residential wiring, which I'm not strictly just an electrician. I do wiring and do wire installations, but I'm a lot more than just an electrician. But if I was doing residential wiring, that would probably come in handy. But I don't use them very often. Then this really narrow 1/8 inch bit happens to be just perfect for DIN terminal blocks. And I'll show you what I drive that with here in a minute. And that was also another one of the best. The thing that I drive that with is also one of the best investments I've made in a long time. But anyways, got some different screwdrivers here. Smaller screwdrivers, a few nut drivers. Use these a lot. The smaller ones for DIN terminal blocks. And then got an assortment of wrenches. Got a couple gear wrenches here. 3/8 up to 9/16. That's what I use the most often. And if I happen to know what job that I'm doing, I'll bring other wrenches, metric wrenches or whatever. Got a couple extensions here that have come in handy at times for my little driver. But everything's basically right out in front where I can get to it. And that's the nice thing I like about this. Flip that thing down and literally within a second, okay, there it is, you know, and you yank it out of there and you go. No messing around, digging around. Time that you just don't have. Time is money. Shop, you know, I don't know what shops normally charge a couple $100 an hour for probably a CNC machine. That 5 minutes I'm searching for a tool, that's big money to them. And you can see inside here, I really like this. They have that bright Klein orange. I really like that because it really lightens things up in there. You can really see in there pretty easily exactly anything, you know, again, minimizing any digging around you might have to do inside here. And also, if you happen to maybe be more like a networking guy than what I am, a laptop will fit in here quite nicely. I dropped one in here, and actually my son, who is into a high-tech MOS in the military and also taking a high-tech, doing a high-tech degree in college, he's thinking about buying one of these as well because he's also working part-time for a high-tech company. And while he isn't going to be doing the heavy industrial stuff that I am, this could come in handy for him as well. But this little driver right here is probably one of the best investments I ever made. You put them little bits in there and you can control the speed pretty well. And I've used this thing from everything from 3/8 bolts down to number 6 screws installing and uninstalling, and man, this has really increased my productivity a lot. This thing, I use this ever since I got this. I got this right about the same time I got this tool bag, and I use this all the time now. Down inside here, I got an LED headlight, and then this here comes in surprisingly handy. One of the places that I do work in the shop is we have a sandblast booth now with an automatic reclaim system, and sometimes I got to go down into the tunnel and replace a bearing down in there or do other work. And this is really nice. It has a metal roof in there. I could take this and stick it right on the metal roof, turn that thing on, and you go from totally dark to having enough light to at least work with. And then combination of that, my LED headlamp, I can perform the job pretty well. Now, before I bought that Milwaukee driver, I bought this small Skill one, a local Ollie's had these, and it's not bad. If it's something you don't have to really do much power, if you don't have much need to break anything loose, it does a nice job. And I really like it because it's really controllable for speed. You can really dial that speed in nicely. But if it's anything that takes any power, this just isn't going to do it. And the battery doesn't last very long. But I do use this mainly like on the DIN terminal blocks, that little driver bit that I have. I found it works quite nicely. Of course, I got my little wire puller in here as well. But anyway, just thought I'd show this. It's definitely a nice unit to have. Well, I had to stop this kind of quickly. I don't know if you heard the car pulling up, but somebody was asking about our pool that we have for sale. But I figured I'd get back in here. Now, what I do, this thing is huge, obviously, and it holds a huge amount of tools. So that's too doggone heavy to carry with me up a crane ladder 30 feet if I got to work on a crane. So I ended up getting one of these little bags as well. That's pretty easy to clip right on to your belt. And the center pouch is big enough to hold a meter if need be. And you know, I can put a couple screwdrivers in here. A lot of times, some of these cranes that we have are a little bit older, so you have a mixture. You'll have older stuff where you'll have, you know, say straight blade screws, and then also you'll end up with like Allen screws, and then maybe there'll be a Torx screw or whatever. So usually I'll take one or both of my 11-1 screwdrivers up with me, and that'll usually take care of just about everything. And then I've started taking up my little foldable Allen wrenches. I'll put those in there, and then, you know, say like a wire stripper. You know, my wire strippers over here, for the most part, you can usually cut wire with them too if need be. A lot of times in some of these cranes, older cranes that we have, for whatever reason, they used solid wire, and there'll be a wire that breaks right at the terminal, so you have to strip it and recrimp it. I'll bring a little loop of wire up with me and a couple splices, and you know, I'll bring this crimper up with me. I could crimp pretty much anything with that if I do it right. And of course there's a little wire cutter on the end there as well if my regular strippers won't handle it. But anyways, there's no doubt about it, this bag has really increased my productivity. It cost, I don't know, I can't remember what it was, $75 or something. And it was certainly well worth it. And one other nice thing about it is it's lockable. If you look over here, each one of these zippers has a loop and you can lock this bag. Now, one thing you have to remember to do though is if you decide to take it home to use it while you're on vacation, you need to bring the key home with you so you can get it open. Well, as you can see, I didn't. So rather than go back to work, which that's the last thing I want to do is go back into the shop on my vacation, I just use the bolt cutters and cut them off, and I'll buy some new ones before I go back to work on Monday. But each one of these will lock, and you know, I've got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of tools invested between work and home, and the last thing I want is to leave this stuff out to where some idiot decides he needs it better than I do. So I'll lock this whole thing up, put it on my big tool cart that if you look at one of my earlier videos, I built a tool cart. That video isn't really good. I might just post a raw footage of building it at some point. But anyways, I just thought I'd show this Klein tool bag and show some of the features and some of the functionality of it. Now one thing I should mention here, one complaint that I do have, the strap is not the greatest. It seems to be very strong. It actually looks like it's made out of the same material as like the older seat belts were made out of. But this little loop here that you use to shorten or lengthen the strap, once I get that thing hooked onto my shoulder and start walking my 800 feet, you know, it's always 800 feet. It's never a job right beside where you happen to be working. It's always on the other end of the shop. But when I start on my journey carrying this thing down through the shop, this seat belt material pulls through this loop, and I'll start out where this belt maybe is, or the bottom of this bag is maybe at waist height, and by the time I get down to my job, that thing's almost dragging on the ground. That's something that's a little bit irritating, something that Klein could definitely improve. But other than that, so far, it's been a very good bag, and so far I have no complaints on it. If I do happen to run into a complaint, I'll certainly do a video on that. I do notice that sometimes when I zip this back up, they don't always, you'll see like one of these that don't quite catch for whatever reason. That's kind of worried me a little bit. I'm afraid that's going to start messing up. So far it hasn't, but and hopefully it doesn't. And I was a little bit worried about these loops too. It doesn't seem like they're connected really that sturdy. That's the loop that the strap hooks onto. But so far, in 2 months of use, it doesn't seem like it's trying to pull through or anything. So hopefully that'll last. For $79 though, you can't beat it. Hoping to get 4 or 5 years out of this, whether I do or not. Well, time will tell. But if you happen to do a similar type of work as what I do, I'd definitely look into one of these.